Welcome to Shining the Light on Our Community. And of course, my name's Sophia from our sacred community, but we have a very special guest. I'm excited because Farah has come back to join us all the way from London. And welcome, Farah. Thank you again for joining us. Welcome back. It's an honor to talk to you.
Thank you, Sophia. It's my honor. I had the most amazing conversation the last time I was on the community, so I wouldn't trade this for anything else.
Thank you for that. It's appreciated. But I'm excited because we're here to talk about reimagining our business, and you're going to share with us 3 steps to a purpose-driven enterprise. I love that because, like our community, our sacred community, and also the Women's Prosperity Network, where we're live as well, lots and lots of women are entrepreneurs, lots of our members, entrepreneurs in all different ways, in all different aspects of business. So I'm excited for what you've got to share. Just let me introduce you a little bit for all our listeners. So Farah, you are an internationally recognized facilitator, coach, speaker, and founder of Interact Consulting, which I love. We will talk more about that too. And you partner with ambitious women entrepreneurs and leaders who find themselves frustrated and unfulfilled. You're speaking my language, despite outward signs of success. I mean, it happens so much. Even for women who are very, very successful on the top of their game, can be really living a life that's not quite fulfilled. They're not fulfilling their purpose. So I love that. And there's so much more to get to know about you. So can I ask you, Farah, just to start with, tell us about yourself, a little bit more about your journey and how you got to where you are now to helping other women with their business.
Thank you, Sophia. That's wonderful to hear you introduce me to the community. I am, so when I think about sharing a little bit more about myself, I want to reveal a part of me which is both the professional and the personal,
Yes.
Of course. So I would start by saying that if you want to know me, then you have to look at, few things that really define who I am. One is really it's being part of a family where we believed anything is possible. So I grew up living and dreaming, and I was really, really blessed to have a family that allowed me to think that I could do anything. And so starting with that, I was this little girl who had these stars in my eyes. I believe that dreaming is important. But I think along the way, I really realized that it's not just about dreaming, but also about living my dreams. So throughout my life, it's been this beautiful journey of looking at what I'd like to create for myself, or what kind of future I want to walk into, and then creating that bliss and walking on that path. So that's a little bit about how I think. And of course, that defined everything that I did in my life and that I continue to do. So just getting started with a belief and a thinking that drove the way in which I interacted with whatever came along the way, and excited me to, just believe that, yes, I could do it.
And isn't that such a wonderful belief to have, to make it any part of your life, your whole personality, your whole, motto is the word that comes to mind, that you really, anything is possible. All you've got to do is to put your mind to it.
I think it's all about taking inspired action. So I remember a lot of times when I would have these beautiful thoughts and ideas, and I would just stay thinking about it. And of course, you know what happens then? You end up just having a great idea. So I believe that the times in my life when I have really, really stepped up is when I took inspired action. And it happened when the idea actually evolved. So, and I think we have so many lessons along the way that I think when we learn from them, it becomes so much easier for us to take that action.
And it's so true. And that's why I love talking to people like yourself, Farah, because you are an inspiration, which is all about, taking that inspired action. Because it's like, if you can do it, if other people can do it, then so can I, or for whoever's watching. And I love that, acting on those inspirations without actually waiting. A lot of times it's so easy to say, oh, yeah, that was a good thought. I'll think about it tomorrow or next week or next year. But it's acting on that inspiration straight away, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I was thinking about that when you said, when are we going to act on it? And it's so easy to imagine that someday we're going to do it. But of course, that someday you don't know when it's going to arrive.
I know.
So I think it's about really choosing that today matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is something that can, get us to make that action instantly. Because if today matters, and I think, Sophia, that's where it came from. When I had this value of this precious moment, and either you get that from an experience of really, really, where you've handled some grief, or you've had an incredible miracle. And so for me, it really came from that grief when I realized that all I have is this moment. And after that, I think it becomes a lot more easy for me. So you can get it from both those, from miracles that you notice every day, or from going through really the lows. So you can appreciate that moment.
Yeah, and that's so true. It's appreciating all the everything that happens to us, both those miracles, really going and appreciating the little miracles, because I know when I appreciate the little miracles, bigger miracles happen. And also appreciating the lower moments, because that's where we learn and we grow.
Yes, and I was thinking about what I said earlier about, feeling that anything is possible. It also comes from this feeling of being free and limitless. So I think I was lucky to be in an environment when I was young, where I was allowed to feel that stretch, that I could play. And I didn't have a little box, but I could play in this area and really feel limitless. So I find that very empowering when I can live my life feeling that way, and to be able to do and be whoever I am. So in fact, I would like to share a very, very quick story about fleas. I don't know if you know that fleas love to jump.
Yes.
And I recently heard a fascinating story of a flea circus. And it was in the 19th century when gypsies had fleas in the circus. And you could walk into a circus and look through a magnifying glass, and you would notice these fleas would be jumping through hoops of fire, pulling carriages, and doing some crazy stuff. And what was most interesting was the fleas were not looking at jumping away. And I was looking at, how do you train a flea? So you take the fleas, put it in a glass jar, and close the lid. And the fleas, jump up and down and hit their heads so many times. They try hard because they're very good at jumping. And until they learn a lesson that there is a limit to how high they can jump. And from then on, even if you remove the lid, the fleas will adjust their jump to fly just below that lid. And it's so interesting to think about that, because sometimes generations after that, even their babies don't jump higher than their parents. And I was thinking about us as women who experience various things in our business and in our, when we start a business, or we have experiences that are tough. when we get the bump on our head, what do?
Mhm.
We sometimes really start making our goals within the glass jar. And we do that so we can avoid feeling hurt. We avoid feeling that bump. And so we learn very quickly, but we also learn to be within that. So I think for me, what has shifted is thinking about how that ceiling, it's only a ceiling. And the moment I change my thinking, I'm able to actually jump higher or do a lot more, and just remember it's invisible. So a lot of limitless thinking, and to feel free and achieve what I want to achieve in my life. And if I'm looking at 2023, it's so easy for me to actually create a vision for myself. But how can I actually lift that lid and really make it really possible and start believing in myself? I think that's one of the ways that story really inspires me, Sophia.
Yeah, and it does. And it's so, so, so true that, we limit ourselves. A lot of it is because we don't want to be hurt, exactly what you're talking about. But the other stuff, is we don't believe that we can do anything, that, we are actually limitless, but it's our own beliefs that keep us in that jar, that keep us in that, that height to where we got, but, oh no, I can't go there. I'm happy here. But what happens if I go there? So tell me, Farah, what do people do? How can how can we reimagine our business? What are the strategies that we can take, women can take? If you've got women out there who are stuck at a certain level of success, or they're struggling with their business, they've got a passion. They're passionate about something, whatever that may be, but it's just not it's just not in their reach. It's just not there yet. How can we change our thinking or change that around?
When you say change the thinking, it reminds me of a quote that has really, really stayed with me, and it is by Wayne Dyer. And he says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look change. And
yes.
So what I mean by that is exactly shifting, perspective. And I think one of the things that really shifted for me in doing what I do today is being able to imagine and reimagine myself. So a lot of ways in which I notice for us as women that I work with, we get stuck, whether in our business or in our work. And what happens is, when we are stuck, we stop moving forward and we become stagnant, and we don't enjoy the work that we do. And of course, it can feel like a roller coaster, that we are experiencing some good moments, and then we go back into our lows of that experience. And of course, we have both the thrills of the highs and the lows. But either way, I think what's important is looking at the perspective which will help us to handle it. So if we look at, one of the things that shifted for me was actually pausing at the moment of my lows and looking at, what have I learned from this? Because when we are able to look at the lesson or the learning from that, you can only win. And the problem with when we don't do that is that things magnify, and we start focusing on all the things that don't really matter. And of course, the roller coaster starts again. So I think for me, the first thing is really looking at it with a fresh eyes, and focusing on looking ahead, Sophia. So it's very easy to turn back and look and focus on things that are not going right. And I think when we're able to just shift that and look ahead, it becomes a lot more easy. And I think it changes everything, our thinking as well. And maybe even asking myself at times, what's one thing that will help shift my perspective right now in my business and my life. So that one thing empowers me to start thinking of who do I want to be, and not necessarily looking at what do I need to do. So who do I want to be also really, really matters. So yeah, I think it's about, uh, you know, knowing that looking forward is one way in which I can really change the way I view the world. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's so true to, a lot of times we get caught up in the past, then thinking that it's always going to be that way. We can certainly learn from the past. We can grow from the past, but it is, it's looking forward and imagining what is possible. What is possible.
And that's such a more exciting conversation to have with ourselves, because
Yes.
it really shifts your energy. And when we're able to do that, we can think bigger, we can double and stretch and really dream bigger. And I think that conversation can really change the way we do our business, because your business can only get as big as you imagine your life.
Yes.
And when I say reimagine, I'm also looking at something like disrupting. So when you talked about beliefs, and I think it's really about disrupting our beliefs and taking a new path.
Yes, stopping the patterns.
Absolutely.
Of sabotaging ourselves. Because that, I think, is it. I mean, do you have that experience, and especially working with others? We are so good at self-sabotaging.
Yeah.
And it's disrupting those beliefs. So what do people do? What are some steps that we can take to actually, stop those beliefs, the self-sabotage beliefs, and to really reimagine how successful we can be?
Yeah. So I was thinking about a moment in my life when I was in the same spot, when I stayed stuck for a long time. And that dark place didn't feel very good. And I think one of the things that really helped me is believing that I could reach out and get some support. Sophia, I was the kind who believed that I was this superwoman, and I didn't want to actually take any support. I think what we have around us is the most incredible support in the community, as well as around if we look around. So, one of the things that I did was not just work on myself and shift that, but I needed support to do that. And by doing that, it really helped me to find a way of thinking that really empowered me, and knowing that I have a huge, huge support to reimagine my business, because it's not something that people have never done before. So why not lean into a community and not really reinvent the wheel? So I believe that create our connections, our real authentic connections, will give us the confidence to go into uncharted territory, to try something we have never done before. And it's just a phone call away. Just pick up the phone and have the courage to make that decision. And so for me, courage was really, I felt courage was being strong and being self-reliant. But I just felt that at one point that it wasn't going to be helping me to get out of that space of limited thinking. So I believe that it's really important for us. One of the strategies is to look at a voice, a person, someone who can help lift you up. And I think that can change everything. It's like a game changer.
Absolutely. And I totally agree. There's so many times, and I've talked to so many women as well, that, that we think we've got to do it on our own. We think that the problem, or what I'm struggling with, only I'm struggling with. we forget that there's a whole community, there's a whole world of, women entrepreneurs who they might have different businesses, but they're going down on the same journey. They've had very similar experiences. So I thank you, and I just want to honor you for saying that, because we're not alone.
Absolutely, and inspiration is all around us.
Yes.
In fact, it's about just taking a pause and looking around and saying yes to yourself first before try and do everything yourself and choosing the support that you need. In fact, I was just thinking about an experience I had recently I'd like to share. I was part of a summit. It's a beautiful summit when we're listening to some amazing speakers. And of course, I was a speaker at that summit as well. And there's so many ways in which you can engage with learning from different communities. And in that, I discovered that there's the power of collaboration, the power
Yes.
of just connecting with someone to get to know them, and then magic and miracles can happen. And I think when you start believing that you can actually do that, changes the trajectory of your life. And through this experience, I've had a huge miracle coming my way, which is saying yes to be part of a fabulous experience that I never thought I would have in India in February 2023. So I wanted to say that I think it just need to stretch ourselves to believe that it's possible.
Yeah, that anything is
and
is
then
possible.
It's the community that really helps you to cement that.
Yes.
So anytime I find that I feel like I'm lost in my business, that my momentum is low, or I'm not getting inspired enough, instead of trying the same things again and again, a really empowering and creative way is to look at who else you can get inspired by, and tap into that. And of course, you just look all around you, and there's inspiration today.
Yes.
So
yes.
there's this inspiration, or there's overwhelm. So it's really choosing what you want to do. Yeah.
So can I ask you, Farah, you're talking about that there's inspiration everywhere, which there is, right? But where do you go, or what do you look for yourself to be inspired by?
So where do you go for inspiration? So for me, the way I have lived my life has been looking at someone who is living a life of purpose, living a life of doing things with passion, and also maybe 10 steps ahead of me. I find that when you look up at leaders who are really walk that path, and you have someone you can you can actually choose to walk that path. That is what I get inspired by. And for me, it's about looking at someone who has reimagined the way in which they have worked, or they're trying something new. So for me, I think it's inspiration comes from creativity for me, from looking at things with different eyes. So where do you look for it is looking at what really matters to you, and finding somebody who's walked maybe 10 steps ahead of you or 100 steps ahead of you, because that's where you get ambitious, you get a lot more excited to believe that that's a path that it's worth treading on. So for me, inspiration comes in many ways. It can come with someone who's living the life and touching so many lives in the same way, or who just has a conversation with me and shifts my thinking. So so it's a conversation. It could be someone's life, but it's important to have that. Without that, I'm working in a vacuum, and I'm trying to do things over and over again without too much success. And I think we've heard this a lot, right, Sophia, that you are what do they say? You are an average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that could be also the people that you get inspired by, because
Yes.
because that's
Yeah.
something that can light up your life, because you can change the way you get to relook at the way you want to walk into your future. Really think bigger. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Makes
Yeah. Yeah.
me excited already when you ask
Absolutely.
me that.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, because it's so real and so important, and you are an inspiration, and so tell us, before we go, we do have a little bit more time remaining, but before that, before we end up, people can work with you. We will be putting all your links in the comments, so for everyone who is watching, do click on the links, whether you're watching the live or the replay. But how can people work with you? What do you offer?
Well, first of all, it would be my honor to partner with anyone who's looking to reimagine their lives,
Yes.
reimagine their business, and to think differently. So, how they can work with me is, of course, connecting with me in two ways. One is sending me um, an email or connecting me on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and we will, of course, have a conversation to see where they are and where they want to go. And I think I'm excited to share that in December, I have about, 3 spots in which so once I get home, I have 3 spots in which I can have conversations, a breakthrough conversation to help people unlock courage to uh, reimagine 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So they can set up a call with me and really look at shifting their perspective and having some really clear strategies to move ahead. So I'm happy to offer that complimentary. And of course, there's another way that people can get in touch with me is read a book that I wrote recently.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have that link that you can share on the um, on this thread.
Yeah.
So that's really how you can dare to be you. It's really about being you, being unstoppable. And I believe that if you're able to
Yes.
start looking at how to shift your perspective, look at the kind of purpose you have for your business, and also believe that connections are everything, and turn around and choose that. Um, those are few strategies that will help you to get started. So of course, I'll be happy to connect and um, help you to change your thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hear me,
Thank you.
Sophia?
Yes, 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 I can hear you. We are experiencing a few little internet tech things, but it's all good. I can still hear you, and hopefully you can still hear me, and we are still live. So thank you for sharing that. And like I said, we will definitely be putting all your links in the comments now as we speak, and just thank you to Angel, who is currently doing that. And just before we do go, Farah, is there any other thing that you would like to share, any other steps, or just anything else that you would like to share for anyone out there who's watching either the live or the replay, about how we can really step into a purpose-driven enterprise, a purpose-driven business, career, whatever it is, whatever our passion, our purpose-driven passion. There you go. Anything else that you would like to share?
Absolutely. I'd love to share that. When we started this conversation, we talked about this voice inside of us, this voice of self-doubt, something that, or the voice of perfectionism that really sometimes paralyzes us. So
Yes.
I would say that that is something that we need to acknowledge, that we always have that. We're going to have that.
Yes.
And of course, the idea is, how can you start listening to the other voice, the inner voice, your inner being. And once I'm able to hear that, then this self-doubt is something that can stay in the backseat of your car, and it will not be driving. So I would say that one of the ways in which we can truly start looking at, start looking at what is it that we can do to be able to continue living our life according to our terms, is asking ourselves some really tough questions, like, who do I need to be to choose this life of courage? Who do I need to be to alter my relationship with doubt and fear? Who do I need to be to create value in the work that I do? And I believe that when we start focusing on who we're being, we start listening to that inner voice, and we start really being in our power. So I would say that self-doubt is something that we have. We all experience this at different times in our lives, but it's really about asking the right questions, and or allowing someone else to help you to ask, look at your life differently. So I think the one thing that I would say is shift the way in which you're looking at your current scenario, and ask better questions that will enable you to shift into your being instead of what do I need to do. So before doing something, let's look at, what is it that I need to shift inside of me.
Yeah, thank you. And it's so, so, so very true. We always, I call it, we live in a world of human doings. We've forgotten how to be. We've forgotten how to, that to take that shift inside of me, rather than looking at what's wrong out here. What can I change out here, when it's actually just a simple thing of looking within and changing something within. So thank you. Thank you for that. I've learned so much from you, and I'm really really appreciative for you in sharing that, the whole thing. Definitely going to rewatch this. Recommend everyone else who's watching us live or the replay just to go back and listen again to all these nuggets that Farah has shared with us on how we can just really step into our purpose to reimagine our life, basically, but especially if we have a business, if we want, if we are entrepreneurs, on how we can reimagine that and see it in a different way. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you so much. And I know we've had a few lags in our internet, but I heard you loud and clear. And I really want to wish the whole community a wonderful holiday season, and wishing you not just dreaming, but also living your dream. So allow that to happen. So thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
No problems, and thank you. And you have a beautiful day in London.
Lovely.
And for everyone out there who is watching us, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you.